so scheduled on this agenda. Public comments requiring action or deliberation of the city council may be scheduled on the following regular agendas. Comments limited to 3 minutes.
One person signed in, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Who is that?
Mr. Huberger.
Mr. Huberger?
Good afternoon, William Huberger, 633 Spruce Drive, Reno, Texas. You know, I really don't know how to say what I'm going to say, but some of you people should be proud of yourself. You've run the best employee the city of Reno has probably ever had or probably ever will have. Kara Hubbard had Reno at her heart. She never made a decision, one, that went against any rule, policy, or guideline that she was given to operate under that the majority of the council had passed. She refused to do some things some of you all as individuals asked and instructed her to do. But you finally made her life so miserable, she packed her bags and left. Now you're challenged with finding someone to replace her, to keep Reno on the track it's on. I don't know how many years it's been. I assume that you're going to receive an audit for the last fiscal year tonight. I'd be willing to bet you that audit is clean. I bet it's as clean as the backside of this sheet of paper. But I bet you next year when you get your audit, it's not going to be that clean. You all have made some decisions that are very bad. You need to get some training, some guidance. You need to start listening to your advisors. Thank you very much. Have a good day. I wish you all the luck in the world because God knows we're going to need it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll move on down to item 8B. Miss Jeanette Moser is here for Admas Energy. Admas Energy franchise agreement renewal.
Yes, for the record, my name is Jeanette Moser. I'm Manager of Public Affairs for Atmos Energy. Office in Greenville, Texas, but Reno and Lamar County are part of the area in which I serve. And I do want to introduce you to Charlie Lewis. He's our operations supervisor for the Paris District and for Lamar and Red River counties. And our franchise is up for renewal. We're asking for the same amount of time that it has been in the past, 25 years. And I'm open for questions. I don't know if you have any questions or comments.
I understand that we're going to go up 1%. Is that what you're...
That is the proposed, thank you. That's the proposed. You're currently at 4%. And a few years ago, I think it was 2008, we went before the cities, and some that are in the coalitions for the cities asked for the ability to raise the franchise fee to 5%. So we went to all the cities at that time, and cities could leave it where it was or change it up to 5%. And we have cities anywhere from 2% franchise fee all the way up to 5%. And you are currently 5%. Our attorney changed it to, you're at 4%. The attorney in the proposed changed it to 5%. But you can keep it at 4% if you like. We'll just adjust that in the final franchise.
And that's basically the main thing that's really changing, isn't it?
Yes, and there's a couple of things that instead of being in the franchise, they're in our quality of service rules now. One is the distance that we offer for a main extension that's free to the customer. And in y'all's franchise that you're operating under now, it's 50 feet, and it'll be going up to 75 feet. And we're trying to get all of the cities to be more consistent. We have it all 50 feet, 75 feet, 100 feet. So we're trying to get them all back to the 75 feet. And then we also have a reciprocal agreement where if we damage your lines, you repair. If you damage our lines, we repair. And it's not in the franchise, but it will be in the quality of service rules, and that's part of our tariff, which is filed with the Railroad Commission.
Okay. Do most cities in the state go off a 25-year?
It varies a lot. They used to go as high as 30 years. Most of the towns that that are in my area that have had their franchises come up are still opting for 25 years.
This renewal, is this something we need to make a decision on tonight?
If you have questions, more questions, I'll be glad
What's the
to
time
get
frame
y'all's.
on this, Ms. Mosier?
Well, I think it's up for renewal now. But we can, if y'all want to table it and have a committee meet with me, or if you want to submit a list of questions and we can make sure we have the answers for you, we can do that. But as long as until one is approved and signed and, official, we just continue to operate under the one we are working under now. We just would like to get it done as soon as we can.
Well, I'm all for it if nothing really going to change. In fact, we should be able, we'll benefit from it going up 1%, so.
I agree. Nothing else changing. It's really a same issue we're under now.
I make a motion that we renew our agreement with Atmos Energy franchise.
I'll second.
We have a motion to renew the agreement with Atmos Energy by Councilmember Willows, seconded by Councilmember Thomas. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Gonna move to item 8A, Annual Municipal Audit for 2014-2015 fiscal year.
I'm Jonna McNeil with Mallory McNeil and Company, and wanted to check first to see, did you guys get a copy of the report in advance? Take a look at? Have you had it to read through it? Any of you have any particular questions? No? No?
Been here, done this before, John.
I'm so disappointed, I worked hard. You have a couple of letters inside the report, and so you don't have to flip to them. In the very back, there's what's called a governmental report, and what it does is it just says that we look at your internal controls over financial reporting, and we look at your controls over compliance with laws, rules, regulations, contracts, and grant agreements. And it's always important to understand that we do not look at every transaction at the city, but we try to look at the largest of the transactions that are unusual in nature, and then some transactions we look at are just randomly selected no matter what their size. And then for contracts, laws, rules, regulations, and grant agreements, we look at those that could have a material effect on the financial statements. So it's very important to understand that, because our job is not to look to see that you're in compliance with everything, because there are some things that you need to be in compliance with, but they would not have a material effect on your financial statement if you weren't in compliance with them. And so our job is just to kind of look over the financial issues and not every area of compliance. But we found no problems with anything that we tested or looked at. So your report for that is a clean report. And then the audit reports now over your financial statements are called unmodified opinions. Those are the best opinions that you can get. And your report is an unmodified opinion for 2015. And your financials are presented on 2 different methods in the financial statements. And so when you're looking through the financials, there's a piece in the front called Management's Discussion and Analysis. And if you're not someone that likes to read financial statements in a spreadsheet format, you would rather read it in a story, then the Management's Discussion and Analysis will give you an idea of what's going on with the city, what's happening with budgeting. It kind of gives you an overall analytical view of the year compared to the previous year, and then maybe some insight into what's coming in the future. That part of the financial statement is written by Kara or whoever is in your control in that position in the governmental. And so that's a very important step in the process of creating the financials, because it requires someone in your office to go through those financials page by page and make sure that they've read them, they've looked at them, they make sense to them. And so that was added to the financials 7 or 8 years ago, and it's been, I think, a very good addition to them. Your financial statements are presented in 2 methods, and you might prefer one over the other as far as when you're looking at them. Exhibit A1 and A2 are presented on the full accrual method. So in those financial statements, you'll see your assets, you'll see all your liabilities, any of your debt listed on your balance sheet. You'll also see land, buildings, and equipment, those kinds of things. Then if you look over on your A3 financial statement, you'll find the financials done on the modified accrual basis. And these are the financials that are done the way that you budget, where when you're budgeting, you actually budget an expense for a debt payment. You don't budget that to be going against the debt on a balance sheet, because your balance sheet doesn't show your debt. We report it in the notes to the financial statements. So I always think that the best one to look at with you is the one that is on the way that you budget. So that's your A3. And you can see on this financial statement how much cash that you had in each one of your funds. And it's kind of interesting this year because with the way financials are presented now, your general fund always has a column to itself, and your water sewer fund will always be presented by itself. But your Reno Crime Control Prevention or other special revenue funds, your debt service fund, those don't always show up in a column by themselves. Every year they're analyzed to see what they are like in size in comparison to your general fund and your overall financial statement, to see if they're large enough in the activity, either in the cash that they have or in their revenues and expenditures, to warrant a column of their own. And this year, both your Reno Crime Control Prevention Special Revenue Fund and your debt service fund ended up with a column by itself because of the amount of activity that runs through them. And I think on the crime control, it was some new grants that you had for this year that increased the activity in it. So just having $32,000 in cash isn't going to be enough to make it have to have its own column because of how much cash it's in it. But it had $111,000 in income for it from what was going on with that grant. So that's what made it be of a size that it has a column of its own. And I want to point that out to you because, you know, if you really get into this financial statement analysis and you get last year's financial report out and you look at it and you get both of them open here and you start doing all that comparison, you'll see that there is a difference in the level of detail that's in that. And it wasn't that one was forgotten last year or anything like that. It's just the way the accounting standards have us to present that. You'll see your fund balance on page 13 of your general fund, $545,000. We did not have to make significant adjustments to your financial statements this year, and that's always good. because if we have to make significant adjustments at the end of the year, then that's an indication that during the year when you guys are seeing financial information, that it's not as up-to-date and accurate as it might need to be. So I just want to let you know that we don't have that kind of situation, so that you can feel good about the financials that you've been getting. Now, as you make the change over to a new staff person, you'll want to watch for that and make sure that those monthly journal entries that should be taking place are taking place. If Judy is staying with you and is still going to be doing that once a month general ledger journal entry type work, that's really good, because we look at, from an internal control standpoint, that's a great position, because that position does not have any daily input activity. If you see, somebody in Judy's position that's basically here to do bank reconciliations and oversee the general ledger, if you were to find her in there taking money in at the water counter, you might be like, oh no, wait a minute, that's not what that position is supposed to be. And similar, if you see someone whose job is water billing intake, but they're in there working on debits and credits and making journal entries, that's not what you want. So you want to try to keep that segregation of duties. And so that's been something that's been really good here at Reno for the last several years, is having somebody that just comes in that once a month and doesn't get lost in the swimming of everyday transactions. They're making sure that bank reconciliations are done on time and the journal entries are getting made on a monthly basis, because you don't want to let it get into a situation where you go 4 or 5 months and the general ledger hasn't got adjusted for those things that need to happen every month. Because sometimes then things fall through the crack, and payments that we need to make, someone misses them, they're just not accustomed to see that. I would make sure, if I were going to talk with Judy, I would make sure that something that she added to her steps now is to look at her last year's general ledger every month compared to this year's general ledger, and just make sure that there's no inconsistencies of anything that's in there, to make sure we don't miss anything during this period of transition that is something that we've typically done every month in that month of a year. Because there are some things that happen at cities that don't happen every month. They happen once a quarter, or they happen every 6 months, or they're always in February or August or something like that. So that analysis will help to make sure that we don't let something drop through the crack. On your page 16 and 17, this will let you see for the year. This is basically an income statement. Governmentals call it a statement of revenue, expenses, and changes in fund balance. We want to make things all long, but in a for-profit business, you'd call this an income statement. And this will show you the difference between what we recorded in revenue and what we recorded in expense. So about the 4th line up from the bottom, as you go across, you'll see how each one of those funds did. And it's quite normal, like on your debt service fund, that the fund balance only changed by about $1,600, because everything that's coming in for that fund basically is appropriated to go out. Okay? And then everything that's happening at Reno Crime Control and Prevention, you're anticipating that pretty much everything that's coming in is eventually going to go out for its purpose. So your general fund is the one that you really want to look at, how your fund balance is doing. It looks like things are okay in that area.
Should there be a fund balance on the crime control?
It can have a fund balance because tax money comes in to it, and it doesn't have to be spent in that year. So it can hold that money and then can spend it in a subsequent period. So there could be a situation where you just say, well, we're going to hold the money for a little while and then we're going to spend it later, and so that's okay. Okay, let's see. On A7 and 8, this is just letting you know what's going on with your water system fund. And so it gets a completely separate fund because it's a proprietary fund, and so it's designed to make money and to pay for itself by itself, is its hope. Is that it will fund itself through fees and services that it's providing. And so you can see over on page 20, you'll see the revenues and expenses of that fund. Then it has a cash flow statement. The notes to the financial statements are very similar to the notes that you have had in the past, except for a change in accounting principle that's related to pension funds. And I'm just going to look over and see where that pension starts. And it starts on page 34, and it goes on for several pages. A lot of information about your pension fund. And that is going to be different than what you have seen in the past. So if you were reading through this and you noticed that it was very different than before, the reason for that is that there is a new accounting standard out. It's called GASB 68.7 and GASB 68, but it's the one that said that if you're in a pension fund with a bunch of other people, then that, what's yours called? Yours is what's your retirement fund called?
TMRS.
Your TMRS.
Municipal Retirement.
There's so many different ones of them, the county people, the school district ones, but so they had to have an audit and had to have an actuarial evaluation to determine that if you drew a line in the sand and everybody had to be paid out what they had coming to them in retirement, who all was vested, who wasn't, all of this kind of thing. That, how was the plan? Was the plan funded the way that it needed to be, or was it not? Y'all's plan is kind of interesting because within that whole fund, you have your own little fund, and you guys were funded okay. So that's good. It wasn't that you were upside down. There are a lot of entities that have been upside down because even though they've always paid in every month exactly the amount that they're told by the state or whoever of how much they're supposed to send in, that when the actuarial evaluation was done, it was shown that their fund did not have enough money in it to cover everything. And so you'll see that some cities, counties, school districts have had to have a liability put on their books for that. That liability does not hit your regular modified books. It hits your full accrual books. And but you guys didn't have to pick up a liability, but you have a lot of new discussion and disclosure in your financials related to that. And each year, your retirement fund will have an actuarial evaluation. And then they will send that information to us, and then we will process that information through your audit report. Your budget comparison is on page 40. This lets you know how your budget was for the year. Yours were fine. You guys stayed within your budget. And then let's look on page 41. So you won't think that there's something missing. This is part of that new standard and new disclosure that has to be put in the financial statements with regard to pensions. And eventually, this report is going to cover 10 years. But for this first year, they didn't have us go back and try to recreate what those things would have been like for the past years. So eventually what you'll see is we will start filling in this report, and eventually you will have a 10-year spread of activity that will be in the report. But until then, you'll just see the columns start to fill in, okay? And it's the same way on the next report too. That's why the columns are there. They tell us to present it that way, but we don't have information yet to put in those. And that concludes the report. We had no difficulties doing the audit. We didn't run into any problems. I appreciate so much when we mail something to you. I know that it probably is frustrating sometimes. You start getting letters from the auditor, but it is important to us to know that you understand what related party transactions are and that you're not involving yourselves in those. And if you were, you'd let me know so that we can make sure that they're at an arm's length type of a transaction. And also when we send the information out to ask you about if you have any concerns about what's going on at the city, if you have any concerns about fraud, if you just have any in general, I'm not sure that it means anything, but Jonna, I'd like for you to look at it. Because we take all of those letters very seriously, and it helps us to decide our scope of the work and where we need to do our testing. So always when we send those out to you, the sooner that you can get them back to me, the better. If you just don't like filling out forms, just pick up the phone and call me, and we can have the phone conversation about it, and I can ask you the questions, and we can chat about it, and you don't have to mail the form back. It's just information that I need. And governmental financial statements are kind of difficult sometimes to read. They're not, everyone hasn't had a class in governmental accounting. And so if there's something about the financial statements that you ever don't understand or you want a better understanding of, please don't hesitate to call me, because I will make the time to sit down with you and for us to go over them. Because I know on nights like this, you don't really have that much time to delve into them. So, and thank you so much for allowing us to do the audit. And if you need any assistance from us as you go through this period of transition, please don't hesitate to call us. We'll be happy to help you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move back up to item 7, consent item, discuss, take action on.
Do they need to approve the audit?
I guess.
I think they do.
It doesn't say nothing about approving it.
They usually accept it.
Okay, we'll back up there. We're gonna back to the audit on item 8A.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the annual municipal audit for 2014, 2015 fiscal year for the city of Reno.
Second.
Have a motion to approve the annual municipal audit for 2014-2015 fiscal year by Councilmember McCarthy, seconded by Councilmember Jordan. All in favor?
Aye.
Now we'll move to item 7, consent item, discuss, take action on A, monthly bills and purchase orders for March 2016, B, minutes for March 2016 city council meetings, C, financial update as of March 31st, 2016, and D, monthly activity reports for March 2016 from 1, Police Department, 2, Public Works Department, and 3, Reno Volunteer Fire Department.
All right. Is there supposed to be more accounts payable on the record? I mean, normally there's like, where's that?
That says April. I can go and grab you guys a March real quick if you'd like.
No, that was the budget. I mean, that was, yeah.
That one is April. We're still in April, so there is supposed to be more for March. Yeah, I can go and grab it for you guys real quick.
Well, no, I mean, I was just making sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I just know most of the time there's like 3 or 4 pages, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden, so we only wrote 3 checks or something.
No, there should be more for March, and I can go grab it.
Okay, that's okay. Mayor, I move to approve item 7, A through D, 1, 2, and 3.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve items A through D, 1 through 3 by Councilmember Brandon Thomas, seconded by Councilmember Amanda Willows. All in favor? Move down to item C. On item 8C, change order number 2 for radio red water meters.
This one's a pretty simple one. We just deleted some of the meters. Last time we had I think the last change order was to order some the bigger meters, 1 inch each and a half meter. This is just a change order, going back and deleting the 3/4 inch meters from that line, so. I think the total amount increase was $1865. said, there'll probably be 1 or 2 more completely finish this project up.
The loan we got from the bank, are we going to adjust it? I mean, to fit the overages, or how are we going to pay for the overages? Just have the system?
The systems fund, I think that was a plan from the beginning. We knew that there was going to be some.
We
a
knew
little bit.
that there'd be these issues over 2 or 3 months.
Like I said the first time, when we get to the end, I still think it's going to go down a little bit.
Yeah.
We're going to go up, we're going to go down. So I don't think it's going to be much more where we're at right now. But that was
'Cause we're over about-
from the get-go.
We're over about 9 so far.
Right.
So,
But it was the discussion back there, and the thought was that it'd come out of system fund.
Because we didn't know exactly what we're going to run into. So, but a lot of the on the other end of it, without going too much further into it, a lot of the meter boxes and stuff we kind of planned for them to replace. We were kind of on the low side where we thought we were going to be on that. And a lot of the leaks and stuff that they kind of planned on fixing in here too. I think when it all checks out, we'll be on the good end of it. So.
are they working?
Yeah.
How are they? Have you had any problems with them not working?
No,
not reading?
We got about 3/4 of them in this last billing cycle, and we went out and read them. Of course, we're just reading with the laptop. Everything's not completely set up. They're almost through. They're probably like about 150 meters, and they'll be completely have all the meters in. And then that's when we're going to probably be another month or 2 working on the register side of it, picking it up, communications and all that end of it. Worked pretty nice.
Does it?
What we had in the ground, so we were able to read almost 800 water meters in about an hour.
In an hour?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was probably took longer than it should have. But.
So you don't really have to put in anything. You just have to drive.
Right.
You just have to get close to it and pick it up.
Wow.
So far, so good. Eventually, that's the system that they want to go with when we started this whole thing. So eventually they will be. But like I said, it's going to be a couple more months. The communication side of it, putting it in, because we've got to put some repeaters up, we've got to put some antennas up on towers and things. But the hard part is getting meters installed and getting that out of the way first. Then we got to go back and do the IT side of it. So we still got some work to do in here as far as that goes also. But that's where we're at right now.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the change order number 2 for radio read water meters, item 8C.
I'm second.
You have a motion to approve the change order number 2 for radio red water meters by Councilmember Rick Jordan, seconded by Councilmember McCarthy. All in favor?
Aye.
Item D, transferring funds received from the Texas CDBG number 7214087 to the system fund from the general fund.
This is just from that grant from the 2013 ice storm.
This is the money replacing that we took out originally out of the systems fund to pay for the ice storm.
Was that all of it? Was that the total amount that we put in for? I can't remember.
We did have to pay some of the grant writers some money too. It's like $9,100.
So it's pretty close to what we...
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Actually, there was out of the systems fund. I don't know. I don't have the numbers.
If I'm not mistaken, Kara said that we originally took $250 from the system
Correct.
fund.
We did.
And we had to pay the grant writer $9,100, and then there's this, so it's close.
Gonna be putting that back, that $250 back to the systems fund where we took it out. That's basically what we're looking at.
No. Mayor, I move that we transfer the funds received from the Texas CDBG number 7214087 to the system fund from the general fund.
We have a motion to transfer funds from the TXCDBG number 7144087 to the system fund to the general fund by Councilmember Thomas, seconded by Councilmember McCarthy. All in favor?
Aye.
Item E, City Council Agenda Policy.
Proposed agenda policy in there. This is a result of last time's discussion. The only feedback I've received is paragraph 3, the last sentence where it's dealing with a citizen who presents at City Hall with a request, and if the city attorney can't resolve this, then it said, the last sentence says the city attorney may contact the mayor and/or the mayor pro tem, and the suggestion was you could take "or" out, and that the city attorney would contact the mayor and the mayor pro tem on how to proceed on that agenda. And that's the feedback I've got. Everything, nobody else has said anything about it.
So that's, what someone wants to do is just take out "and" or and just leave "and."
Or.
But take out "or" and leave "and."
Yes, so I would have to contact the mayor
Both.
and the mayor pro tem and say, I've got this agenda item and I can't resolve it. Here's what it says. Stick it on the agenda or not. Or tell this guy to show up at the public forum.
Something I was looking at on the deadline for agenda items number 1, like towards the bottom where it says, item may be submitted to the agenda later, an item may be submitted to the agenda later the Wednesday, but however, the nature of the basis of an emergency placement must be stated in open session during the meeting. And I don't know if that's all necessary. Sometimes we forget to know the Wednesday deadline. We may call Thursday, or we may call Wednesday at 4 o'clock, but it may not be an emergency placement because it still hadn't gone out. So, I mean, I would see if it's after, Friday, 8 o'clock, and we need to squeeze something on there, how that should be explained. But, Wednesday at 3 o'clock, I don't see why we should have to go through all that. Or maybe just something we forgot to put on there and we just submitted it, but it's still not a problem at that time, still not a problem Thursday. Now Friday would be, a problem because council packets are getting prepared and deadline for the newspaper.
Didn't we change this about 8 months ago, a year ago? Stating that Wednesday at noon.
Yes, we did like that forever.
Yeah, we did. I think you need, of course, the purpose of Wednesday noon is to give staff time to do the issue things that are necessary, contact the attorney, whatever that may need to be done before it goes on the agenda. If it's something that is not of a merit the concerns of being of having to have this meeting with so to speak an emergency meeting, it seems to me it could be very well then tabled to the next month's meeting.
It may not be able to wait till the next month's meeting.
Then I would think it would merit doing what an emergency type meeting or agenda item that this addresses.
So we should have an emergency meeting for an agenda item?
Well, what does this say here? Do we have that the city attorney meet with the mayor and the mayor pro tem?
On the deadline down there.
On what?
The deadline down there, not, I don't know, what are you talking about?
On an item that was not presented by the deadline? Yeah. To determine if it merits.
Right. 'Cause basically the way it is now, the only thing that can really go on there is something emergency.
Yeah.
but we have to have a deadline. We have to have,
And we do.
and most of the time, if it's not something really detailed, I'm sure that if we called up here at 1 o'clock and say, hey, can we squeeze this on there? It's not a big deal. I'm sure that everyone in the office would be more than willing to work with whoever to get that on there.
Yeah, but I don't think we should have to go through this last sentence down here. Maybe it wasn't an emergency for a place, but maybe, I think Friday, after the agendas are printed and before it goes to the press, then if we call up here, want to squeeze some then I think we should have to answer for that.
Yeah, but a lot of things have to go to the attorney to look over.
And that got old and slow.
And it's still good. It's still a go process, but having staff having to go back and reprint the agendas and do all that, I think, yeah, we should have to explain that. But if it's just an oversight and we call Wednesday at 4 o'clock, I don't think we should have to state that in open session why we had it, put on there. It's just a waste of an agenda item. When it really, like you said, wasn't that big of a deal anyway. But if you call for Friday, 8:05, I think you should have to answer for that. But Wednesday, 2:30, Thursday,
Well, what if we did it Wednesday at 5 p.m. and then somebody Thursday morning at 7 a.m. or 8 says, oh, I forgot. That needs to be on there.
And just like you said, if we call in good faith and if we did forget, I'm sure they'll be willing to work with us.
But see, when are we ever going to have, this is the cutoff, unless it's an emergency item that needs to be on here, and you have the meeting of the determining factors here concerning that, then it needs to wait till the next monthly meeting. And if it's of such a nature that you need to have an emergency council meeting, then the mayor can call one.
Yeah, I think that would be the provision, have a provision where you can, if it's really something important, you can call the meeting.
This is going to be...
But the mayor can always call a meeting anyway. It doesn't have to be, it's already down.
But I don't think we should waste, the agenda item of time explaining why there's an item on there that really doesn't matter, but...
So in other words, you just want to, after Wednesday, and it says however, you want to take out from there on where it says the nature of the basis of the emergency placement must be stated in open session during the meeting.
Yeah. You may have to call the mayor and say, hey, I forgot, can we get this on here? And he say yes or no, then that's where it stands.
Okay, so...
If it's after the Wednesday deadline.
So we leave the Wednesday deadline where it is.
Oh, yeah.
And you just want to strike out the having to be stated in open session during the meeting. Why? If there was something emergency. Okay. So basically, we're looking at 2 changes. Paragraph 3, in the last sentence, and then the very last basic sentence, striking that.
The very last sentence of section 3, you're saying?
No, on section 3 where it says, it's
At the very bottom.
At the very bottom?
Yeah,
The nature and basis of the emergency placement must be stated in open session.
yeah.
What would be wrong with stating it if it's of nature that it needs to be on there in open session? Why not?
Why?
Well, it's public information.
Yeah, it's going to be on the agenda. It's going to be on there before the deadline, before the Friday media, making it to the paper and posting. It's going to be on there.
Well, let me ask the attorney. He's the one that wrote this, and why would...
What a unique idea.
Well, tell us, Mr. Attorney, why...
There's got to be some accountability for how this stuff gets put on there. That's the problem now, is there, Up to this point, it's been, everybody can put one on there. Before that, it was only a few people can put on there. 8 years ago, people were challenging the city attorney putting things on the agenda. It's always been that way. There's got to be some accountability. So the buck has to stop someplace. If you put an agenda item on there after that deadline, then whoever authorizes that ought to be able to tell everybody else why it's on there. McCarthy forgot it, and it's important enough to put on here. That. If the rest of the council doesn't agree it's an emergency item, they then can take that up and say, we don't think that's an emergency. Maybe your buddies just got together in the back room and decided to throw this on here, but you then never have an opportunity to say, foul. You know, we can't do it that way. We can't play that way, because it gives a considerable discretion to people who are doing it without having that discretion being accountable to the other elected officials on the council. And you don't have to go into a long speech like this. Sometimes I forgot it is good enough. I didn't, I had it on my mind. I promised to do it. I didn't do it. We need to do this before 60 days rolls around. And that's a good enough explanation. But other times, you guys know, y'all have been involved in some fights up here. And somebody says, how in the heck did this get on there?
Basically,
we just do it. Like that.
Just to say, what makes you so special that you don't have to abide by the rules of everyone else?
Sure, and then we get into an argument about that.
Right.
And instead of what the issue is, everybody says, we know what this is all about now, and then we get off track on that stuff. It's not like the world's going to come to an end if somebody says, hey, this got here late, and McCarthy's calendar broke down. He can't tell dates or something, so, and he's not even smiling about that. He's mad or something.
Well, it comes back, like you said, to accountability.
Yeah.
If you
Well,
if it's
somebody gotta
of a
be
nature that
accountable.
it needs to be on there after the deadline, then
And
you
then
give a background as to why
Somebody
it's here.
calls me and says, why is this on here? I guess somebody put it on there. I don't know.
But we'll all see it at the same time, which is Fridays when we get the agenda.
Yeah.
We don't know when it's put on there or called or anything. We don't know. Or do we know? Did anybody see the agenda before it's posted?
I sure do.
Yeah, you do. Anybody else?
The mayor used to, years ago in Kingdom by the Sea. The mayor looked at them all, every one of them.
So, if this agenda that I got today, I don't know if some items was put on there Thursday at 5 o'clock or Monday at 3 o'clock, prior to the Wednesday deadline.
Well, I think until you have a reason to believe otherwise, you have to operate under the assumption that the city staff is operating under the guidelines and the policies that the council has set forth.
Well, you could make it an absolutely drop dead thing. You could say, hey, guess what? Thursday at 5 o'clock, if it's not there,
It ain't gonna be
nobody
there.
cares. It can be the biggest, there just got to be some, if you want me to review it and look at it, there's got to be some time left for me to read it and for me to shoot things back over to the front
But if you do
office.
it Thursday at 5 o'clock and the package going out Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock,
Yes, sir.
that really, in the event that there's something going on with you personally or your schedule, because this is not the only thing you do, look at our agenda, then that really narrows that window down as far as what the ability you have time-wise to do the research that you may need to do.
Generally speaking, and you're right, if something happens and by gosh, I'm just not around, I have occasionally had them read it to me over the phone.
Yeah.
I say, just read it to me, because I'm in a place where I can't get to a computer. But the technology can be managed, and the front staff is really good about doing that. And unless I'm in the hospital or something someplace, Lord, don't let that happen again. Now, I'm going to be out at a phone someplace where somebody can call me, and they can read it to me, or I can see it on the phone.
This agenda has to be posted in the newspaper?
No,
Where does it have to be posted at?
right up here on the front door.
And I don't understand why it couldn't have emergency provisions to post whatever if it's emergency. But I mean, if people start crying wolf all the time, then,
I mean, I can submit something late every day and just be able to explain it, take up 10, 15 minutes why, every month.
Well, I certainly, I hope you don't have to take 10 or 15 minutes to explain why I thought this was an emergency. That's kind of a sentence, and then, okay.
Or I
But
could say,
having an emergency
I
meeting,
forgot, or I wanted to.
having an emergency meeting is different than the regular session. I mean, if you call an emergency meeting, it's still got to be posted out there, and it's still, there's got to be some notice. So that's, you can't say, I'm going to have an emergency meeting to decide whether or not that agenda item's an emergency. But by that time, we're done. We're in the soup. It's all over with, because you can't get that done quick enough. So,
How about in the greater interest of compromise? The last sentence,
Leave it on there.
after emergency placement, we strike out the word must and put in might need to.
what?
How about that? Might need to be stated.
You guys decide however you want to do it, and I'll work with it. How's that sound? But,
So in other words, no one's have to state the reason why unless asked.
yeah, don't ask, don't tell rule. I like it.
Yeah, basically.
So what do you
And
think
if you're asked, you need to
what
be-
is my obligation if somebody calls up and says, hey, guess what? It's, the drop dead time is come and gone, but I really want this on the agenda. What can I do? What do you want me to tell you?
I think the cutoff is the cutoff.
But if that's gonna work for us, I mean, nobody gets nothing on their afternoon Wednesday, nobody.
Now, if there's such a,
Unless it's an emergency.
No, I can wait till next week.
then you've got a provision here, to get with the mayor pro tem, and yourself, and decide if this item is a sufficient issue that it needs to go ahead on the agenda after the cutoff.
Right, it has to go through, it has to go through those three people.
Yeah.
For a vote or what? I mean, they say one say yeah, one say no.
Well,
it's going or
we
not.
agree, they say, we agree this is an emergency. It is an emergency because if we don't get to it, like you said, if we don't get to it now, it's 60 days out. And that's just too big a delay. For city government, I think that's an emergency because you guys don't get to meet but once a month. And so if it's something significant like a change order on something that somebody forgot, they didn't put it on there, you probably need to go ahead and say, we need to hear that.
Right.
Because otherwise, it's 60 days. and
Sure,
You're not
there
going
needs
to
to
get
be
it
a
done.
provision there. And before we did the noon cutoff, when was the cutoff? You remember?
It was like later in the week.
Yeah, and what was
It
the
was
issue?
Thursday,
Yeah, and well,
Thursday at 5 or
the
something.
problem was this staff just got, sometimes they were inundated with agenda items to put on there at the end of the week and trying to take care of all the end of the week things and get the agenda out and send it and get it back and do it. They just were pressured to get that done. That was a hard
And this put pressure, by doing it Wednesday noon, put pressure on council and whoever else wanted anything on the agenda, staff too, to get it on there.
Sure.
And then again, to give the time due process.
I'm assuming that's why that was done, to put a little balance in the who suffers the stress deal. That's what I'm saying.
And to me,
I don't think I've ever asked for nothing to be put on in the afternoon, but I'm just saying, and stuff can happen. Stuff come up, you can have a citizen come up to you and say, hey, look, you know, can we, or let's discuss this, and you say, oh, yeah, well, we're having a meeting Monday. Oh, well, it's 3:30 and Wednesday, the cutoff's noon, I can't get it done for you, I'm sorry. Whoa.
I've seen that happen a few times.
But I don't think I've ever emailed anything to be added afternoon, but it can happen. And I'm just saying, it's just crazy.
Well, I don't see, after reading this 2 or 3 times, I don't see why we can't go ahead and strike that out. Because basically it's saying up here that anything after Wednesday is going to take the city attorney, the mayor, and the mayor pro tem to get something on there after that Wednesday cutoff anyway. Yeah.
I mean, the department has to have something.
So in other words, if you did call up here on Thursday morning and say, hey, you know, I want to put something on here about whatever, you know, just, you know, the walking trail, then no, you can't. You know, or, you know, my neighbor wants to know about these barking dogs or whatever. I'm sorry. And the only way to override that would be to go to the city attorney, the mayor, and the mayor pro tem and convince all 3 of them to place it on the agenda.
And it's
So-
just an item that hadn't gone to the
Right.
press, hadn't got posted,
But-
hadn't even got printed yet.
So, but that's basically the rules for, this right here. So, striking that last sentence out would make no difference, really.
Except for, you said it was an accountability issue.
It's gonna be on the agenda anyway.
Yeah, well, it would be on there, and the thing is, the mayor pro tem, and the attorney are going to know who and why and everything. So, I'm pretty sure if we were sitting here, and I saw it, and I said, well, why is this on here? I'm sure someone would say, oh, well, I put it on here because whatever, so.
And it was late, I'm sorry.
Let's see. So in other words, that'd be fine. I mean,
And it's clouding the agenda.
all right. So if we strike that, and then the mayor and mayor pro tem.
When does staff get their agendas?
I'm sorry.
When does staff get their agendas?
They set it up. I don't know. I mean, I start to get, they don't just, they don't.
So what if y'all have to add something? I'm saying, so y'all don't see it, y'all don't work with it during the week after Wednesday? If you want to add something, you can.
We turn our, hopefully, we turn our stuff next day.
And then that's it for y'all too?
And that's it. We don't see it until Friday.
And if you have something come up at 5 o'clock Wednesday, you just add a load. And you may need
Or
to
you
be.
really upset somebody and squeeze it on there, which I've had to do before, but sometimes if it's gotta go, it's gotta go.
So that's what I'm saying.
Or something happens.
It's got to go on there.
Or something happens, and which has happened to me numerous times, I'm sure Trish can attest to. Something will happen Monday afternoon, I come up here on Monday, expect we've got 2.5 days to get my stuff together for council, if I have anything to go on there. And something will happen Monday afternoon, and I can't look at anything else until 3 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes that happens, I may call them and tell them, hey, I'm working on it, I'll get it there as soon as I can. They've been pretty flexible about the stuff like that, because they know last minute stuff happens. I'm on board and all the time. Try to work around it. I can see both sides of the argument.
Is this something that we don't need to make a motion on this? We just have to ask you to rewrite it. Is that?
If you want it rewritten,
And then-
I'll be happy to. But
And then bring it
let's
back?
please
or-
decide what language you'd like to have it at this time. I sure enjoyed it.
I want to go on record saying,
2 minutes.
I
It did
think
not take me 2 minutes.
I'm satisfied with the way you've written it.
But, no, that's, I get paid.
I don't see why there's an issue.
I'll go on record and say I am not
What about-
satisfied with the way it's
What
written.
about this? Changing this to
taking
mayor and,
the or out, that's fine with me. Yeah,
so
that's, whoever wanted that, that's fine with me.
That was me, that's Joey.
the mayor
Want that out.
and, the mayor and mayor pro tem.
That was mine. I'm the one that made contact with him. I'll own it.
Really
I'll call him.
He was friendly that night.
Sure was. He called you, didn't he? Yeah. Sure did. You charged the floor, thank you.
Yeah.
So basically what that would be stating is, before he can move forward, he would have to have
Both of them.
both of their
Instead
approval
of one saying yeah, one saying no. That's just, no. You get both and then, right.
to keep, okay.
I mean, one of them may not, be in service or maybe out of the country or not able to reach my phone. Losing track. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we take the City of Reno City Council agenda policy and submit it back to the attorney for the changes that we've mentioned here tonight.
I'm gonna have to make, I guess, a point of order and ask for clarification on which one. I mean,
The taking the word "or" out of paragraph 3 under placing an item on the council agenda. The city council may contact the mayor and the mayor pro tem for consultation.
okay.
And under deadline for agenda items, item 1, removing from the word "however," the nature of the basis of the emergency placement must be stated in open session during the meeting. Remove that.
Okay. I guess my point of order will be satisfied, so. I would second that.
We have a motion to send the city council agenda policy in for revisions to the city attorney. Seconded by Councilmember Thomas. All in favor?
No.
All opposed?
I have a question. I'm split on it. The first part, I have no problem with. The second part, I want to go with the attorney's advice. I don't have a problem taking the "or" out, so I don't want to vote. How do I do that? Yes on one, no on the other.
You don't want to vote? Or you?
Marcia says I'm not voting, which means she's not voting.
She has to.
That's right.
Where does it say that?
Yeah, rule.
Someplace in that city policy. Somebody's figured out. Yeah,
General law.
Well, the way it's worded, it's actually a two-part question, because there's two different sections being altered.
Right.
So
You can make a new motion to change it.
I make a new motion to change that question.
There you go.
There we go. I would like to separate the two because it's two different issues. So on the first one, I make a motion to remove "or" on section 3.
The first one being first.
Either somebody should accept her amendment and say, "Oh, let's do it." You don't want to take it.
And that's it?
That's waiting for the attorney.
Sweet.
Amendment to the motion.
Yeah, amended motion.
So that's what you need.
Yeah. Agree to it, since it's his motion.
What was it again? What was your amendment?
To have it, it's two separate questions, because section 3, making a change to section 3, and then there's making a change to the last section. Instead of having it all one vote, because I vote yes for one and no for the other. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. I'll accept that amendment. I will amend my motion to include changes to section 3 under placing an item on the council agenda, removing the word "or" from the last sentence.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion to amend the motion by Amanda Willows, seconded by Councilmember Thomas. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Let's move on.
Yeah, we're about to second.
Don't we have to vote?
Or is out, is that correct?
Yeah, "or's out."
Or is that?
Mr. Mayor, I also make a motion to change on the council agenda policy under deadline for agenda items, number 1, from the word "however," the nature of the basis of the emergency placement must be stated in open session during the meeting. Removing that.
We're gonna remove, however, the nature of the basis of the emergency placement must be stated in the open session. You're gonna remove that?
I think that's the motion, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Yes, sir.
Just trying to be clear.
Appreciate it.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember McCarthy, seconded by Councilmember Thomas to remove the wording, however, the nature and basis of the emergency placement must be stated in open session during the meeting. All in favor? All opposed?
No.
No.
Now what?
You vote. You vote.
It's up to you now, Mr. Mayor.
Got a tie.
Always wanted to vote, and now here's your big opportunity.
On a big ticket item.
I think this is the first time I've seen this.
So this
I know,
is
right?
basically calling for provisions of an emergency item to be placed on the agenda.
What that would, you could be left with was still if somebody presented an item after the deadline, then the mayor and the city attorney and the mayor pro tem would have to determine that it met some sort of emergency basis. But then it gets put on the agenda and nobody has to say, oh, that was late and here's the reason why, or that was an emergency. Nobody has to say that.
Okay,
It's
well,
just a-
I'll vote for that. I'm for it.
Okay, Trish, you know what the minutes are
Do you need extra coffee?
Maybe you need to call in while on that trial.
I think I have it. I think I have it.
Just come on out. 8 o'clock.
Moving to item 8F, additional parking at Reno's Kiwanis Park, including fence work.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I asked for this to be put on there before the deadline.
Let it hang in there.
Good job.
I guess last week and the week before, I went by the park a couple of times, and in the evenings, they're having soccer practice. They're also having baseball practice. In our existing parking lot, they're parked too deep. They're parked on the road, and over in the lot that is due west of our existing parking lot, there's it's pretty rutted up, but there was, some pickups parked in there, and it was wet. I guess week before last, you could tell someone looked like they got stuck in the ditch, and they're rutting it up. But basically, we need a lot more parking. And since we bought that spot, we haven't really done anything with it. And I would really like to see the parking lot extended over at least all the way to the property line and maybe up to the tree line, which is right underneath those numbers, that 121121, and then back up and cut into the track. So I don't, Jerry would have to, I'd like for him to get some bids on how much gravel would be. I mean, we'll have to put down a base, then gravel it. There's an existing tin horn, but I think it could be probably taken out and maybe gravel because it's kind of on top of a hill. But
So you're talking about just improving the lot just to the west of the existing?
the grass lot.
12, 11, 21.
Right, and if right underneath those numbers is the tree line. So,
Is that fence still there, Jerry? Is that fence still there?
There's a partial fence across the back of that property, which needs to be taken up. And we need to put a fence between the two properties, the one where we bought and the neighbor next door.
right, and that was my other part of it, and maybe look at getting a fence, something nice, privacy, more or less, in between their house and our property, because our property goes really close to their house. I mean, really close.
This is something we've discussed before, doing this parking lot. We've had 2 or 3 different ideas. I just never had any directions what we wanted to do and where to go with it, so.
And see, I'd like to get 2 different sets of bids. One, for the gravel, and that would give us at least that to go with right now. The fencing, of course, I'd like to see it done, but I don't know what would be in the budget for that.
I can tell you what we have in the budget. We have roughly $7,000 in that budget.
Right.
So
And I don't know,
how far that'll go.
Right.
Of course, we're not talking about a lot of fence. I mean, unless you are talking about putting up, you know, a chain link, it wouldn't be that much, but if you want to put up a nicer private
Right.
fence, something, it could,
How
be
about
more expensive.
separating the two properties?
Our property from the house to the west of it. I mean, like I said, we don't have to have a fence there, just like we don't have a fence between our property right there and the trailer house to the north.
Right.
We don't have one there, and that's fine.
I think if we're gonna try to make that any kind of parking, I think we need to have some kind of barrier in between
Right.
there and that house.
Yeah, we have to have something to
if
keep
it's just
people from
chain-
driving in their yard.
Yeah.
So,
Has that neighbor complained about anything from the park?
The only, what you talking about, the lot we're talking about?
Yeah, where the house is.
I have not had any complaints.
Like a year or two ago, once.
Or what? You remember? Oh, parking.
In the street.
Wait, which house was
He's
that?
talking about the one.
No.
right on this side.
On the west side.
The one you're talking about is on the other side. We get complaints from the gentleman on the other side with the trailer
Park.
all the time.
And he's actually put up some signs, a little sign.
right.
Yeah.
Actually, we put a no parking sign up there.
All working together.
You're right, and like I said, I think if we did that and maybe designed it right, put in maybe some cross ties so that way people would know kind of how to park once they got in there, that would alleviate
Well,
any kind of, parking congestion.
I've got a couple ideas about how we need to do it.
Right.
I think we're gonna have to kind of separate the two because there's
Yeah.
a telephone pole and there's a drainage in the middle. So we'll have to kind of separate it a little bit. But we could do it just like we have the other one. Put the post up, the chain, however we need to do it, just to make a parking area.
Right.
But I mean, I can get a bid for what it would cost to do gravel, to make a parking lot for the culverts. And then I could get a couple bids on fence if you'd like me to.
Well, I'd like to see, at least some bids on for gravel. And, because I'd really like to try to get that done.
Could we talk to that property owner to see if if they mind a privacy fence? Because they may enjoy the view of the
Yeah.
park, and then we go put up a 8-foot privacy fence, I mean, it's gonna shut them off. I mean, what does it say about fences?
Good fences make
Good neighbors, exactly.
Or what happened to the chain link that we took down from that?
Yeah.
Good to you.
Oh, he did?
I don't know.
He did.
Because I think say there was a fence there.
There was.
And now
Took
it's
it with
gone.
him when he left. It was taken down before we purchased that property.
Oh, okay. Now,
It was.
How many spaces are we looking at adding? I mean, how many would that generate? Y'all know?
I don't know exactly.
I bet you it almost,
3/4 of what we have now.
at least 3/4.
It almost doubled the parking area.
Which, like I said, they were parked too deep
Oh,
the other day going through there. And,
One behind the other.
right.
And on the road.
And they were parked on the road by their house and across from here. And then a
And then
bunch
by-
of them right in the lot.
And we'll be removing that back piece of fence there, it kind of blocks it off too. That would open the park up a little bit more to that area where the trees and stuff are up there in the front for something else if we wanted to do a picnic table or something.
And we've got the existing, I guess, the barrier fence that goes around the yellow poles with the wire or the chain. We can look at doing something like that. And tie it all in together.
I agree.
I mean, I don't think that would be very expensive at all to do something like
No.
that.
But
So-
I can get you a bid to do that.
Thank you. So,
We need a motion instructing Jerry to get gravel and bids.
is that all going?
We need to,
We need a motion.
okay, Mayor, I move to instruct Mr. Rivas in getting bids for gravel to make a parking lot at the Reno Park, and on getting bids for fencing separating our property from the property on the west side.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Thomas for Public Works Director Jerry Revis to take bids for adding additional parking and a fence at the Reno Kiwanis Park, seconded by Councilmember McCarthy. All in favor? Move on to item G, drainage areas around Reno Volunteer Fire Department number 2 at Twin Lakes.
Mr. Mayor,
Hold up a minute, please.
We're almost out of room.
I apologize, Councilmember McCarthy, we were saying?
Oh, item G, I asked for that to be placed on the agenda
Okay.
in a timely manner. It was, we received an email from a resident over there concerned with the appearance of those two drainage areas over there. And maybe we could do something. There's some, I guess, I don't know what you call it, pieces of metal that's fallen and offset now.
Does that need to be there now? I've looked at it.
Guardrails
Go
put up years
guardrails.
ago.
And it is an eyesore.
Does that have to be there? Or- I mean, because that's like an old remnant of like the tin horn going into that property, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, they don't
can't that just be
necessarily
all
need to be there.
removed and filled in?
We could just complete that and fill it in with gravel and be done with it.
Right, just, okay.
But I mean, I think that's probably what they're talking about, where the old guardrails that just keep, we go by and we reset them, they fall back. It
Yeah.
rains because it just washes out right there.
So there is a fix for that? I mean,
Yeah, we could-
to remove
yeah,
all
we
that,
could-
fix it like it's supposed to be.
We could just tie that together all the way through and just fill it in with gravel. We'd be done with that.
You never know it really after that. Okay. That'd be something really feasible to do, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's not a big issue.
Want to do it in a timely manner? Weather permitting? Yeah, can you do it by Wednesday noon?
I don't know about that. I'll put it on the list.
Thank you. Do you need a motion?
We have to buy any material to do that. Jerry?
We got what we need in the yard. Shouldn't be any cost, just us there.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion?
No.
Nope, okay. Item H, update on time management system.
Mayor, that's another one of my items that has to be on there. Just we talked last meeting on our time management record keeping system, and just wonder if we found anything. I had a copy of what was included in the package. I had some notes on it, left it on my desk.
So the city secretary looked into this some, and this is what she found out from our software provider, USPI, is Time Management Systems is a vendor that they're already interfaced with. So it would be pretty easy if we were to go with them. And I got the price from USTI today. It's a one-time setup fee. The interface would be $395, and it would be $120 each year for support.
Does that, or, I'll smooth it.
So, and who was that from? The same people?
It was from Time Management Systems. I'm sorry, Time Clock Plus.
Then what is this one for $13.50?
That's it. It's at the top left corner, Time Clock Plus.
Now that's.
I wonder what the price
that's the
difference is.
company's
Oh, the
cost
price difference,
to
that's their price.
Pretty much buy the system.
Okay, okay.
Now, what my question was, do you know what modules you looked at? The modules I was like, is for one's for the time clock that would be all computer based. And another one, you just have to figure out, do you want a magnetic strip card, a proximity card, or a like a barcode type card system?
Just looking at this, it looks like you could clock in from your phone.
That's included in that.
Yeah, and anywhere really.
But this would, I mean, I didn't see anything, which module she looked at, other than they do have the software to do it, but some of the modules I would like would be the time record keeping, clocking, as well as the module for integrated to your payroll system.
Well, I went to the website and I looked, and they have different ones,
Module.
different models. And so I'm pretty sure if one worked for our system, I'm sure a lot of them would. And they had them for the scan card. I mean, basically whatever you want.
Fingerprint, biometrics.
They could do, I mean, retinal eye scan, they don't, I mean, they can do everything.
But it's
Depends on,
modules
right,
that you can get.
right, depending on what you want to spend.
But the estimate doesn't list any modules on it, just the support and the license agreement. I see it's for 15. I take it 15 employee, that may be certificates for, 15, but it doesn't tell me what modules, and I'm sure that'll be an extra cost that are in there.
So
The
what,
hardware and software, well, this is the software. But, what are you gonna do with it? I mean, what do you want? Do you want the time clock? And that's a module.
well,
But that's what, I mean, this is where I was wanting to go.
Yeah.
Now you just got a la carte.
well, this is going, I think this, what the city employees, I think, need to look at it and figure out which ones that they would like. And then come back to us with, hey, this is what we would like to have. This is the one that thinks going to suit us the best.
And what kind of cards you like to have?
Right,
I like the proximity cards.
instead of us just saying, all right, here, take this and use it.
We can look into it further for you guys. So
Yeah.
we get more answers. This is the beginning.
You haven't had, and of course, not finding this Time Clock Plus with the interface with the software, we've got USDI. We still don't know what cities may be using this and what their experience with it has been.
Well, we can research that and look
And
further.
plus with what type of card they are using and what their experience there has been. So these are things I think we need to know, because it may give us some direction.
Right.
On what
And mainly, let's, see if the other cities like it. Because,
Yeah.
this might be some that, the worst, piece of equipment out there to have. Or this brand.
I think
So-
it's going to be a big project, but it's something that we can do.
Right.
And I think it might eventually benefit us in the long run, because it's going to have, employees are going to be able to see their leave balances, how much vacation time they have, how much comp time, how much sick time.
Right.
And it's all at their fingertips. They don't have to come to us to ask them.
Right. And on top of that, how much easier it's going to be for figuring up the payroll if it's already integrated into it. It should
That's
be,
the benefit
it should be
I
able to
want
just
you guys to
figure
get out of it.
everything out and have it right there. But before I think we buy it, I think we better make sure what we're getting.
Absolutely.
I was going to say y'all on the right track as to the system, and you may get with other departments, see what would work for them. I mean, Jerry, I know sometimes they come in wet, muddy. If they have to clock in or out, maybe they can just take the proximity and just touch it instead of trying to dig it out of the wallet or off their shirt or out of their pocket.
Yeah.
And the mobile apps will work for both of those. I remember, for instance, we ran into a workman's comp deal where The officer had to take him, car was on his way to work, but he hadn't made it here, he hadn't had an accident before he got here. He wasn't on the clock, but he technically was, but he wasn't, so this could eliminate all that.
Same thing for water sewer emergencies,
Exactly.
especially in the wintertime when we have bad weather and ice on the roads. Yeah.
How about y'all going right there? Check out all those modules in there.
Move to item I, update on Public Works building.
Mine again. This is basically, I mean, if there was an update, I didn't know, I just know we hadn't talked about it, but it was a project that we were all interested in.
Jerry, where's this gonna sit? I mean, or where would you like to,
Bear with me for this first, I didn't see this till y'all's pretty much saw it. Been working on it off and on. Actually, what we looked at was basically facing the same way this building is, just on this end.
yeah, that's,
So it kind of matches everything. It would look a whole lot better, I believe, and kind of put it somewhere else out in the yard or something, but
Yeah.
it's basically, the way we want it to look, it's gonna look pretty much just like City Hall.
Would it be curbside?
Small, what?
Accessible from?
Yeah, it'd be accessible from Blackbird Street. Correct. You know, set just like you're looking at it, the front entrance will be right here, so you'll be coming off, you pull through the shop, through the yard.
Is your break room, training room is gonna be like what we got now? I mean, it could be a conference room for you?
Could be.
Okay.
all right. I know whenever we were talking about doing it, one of the big things was storage. Putting in a place for storage.
Correct.
Where,
Well, I have a storage area in the facility, just on the other side of the break room.
in the corner, yeah.
That'll be a storage. We'll have part storage in the middle. It's not necessarily all part storage, just pretty good sized area. Maybe some tools and other things too. There will be storage. And depending on how we design this, there's a potential for some more storage above the back area and shop.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying, because how tall is the shop going to be?
I'm not real sure, we haven't really got to that point, but that was kind of depending on whether or not we could use some of that for storage above.
Right, so if it was 12 foot tall, you still have 4 or 5 feet above it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, there's going to be some storage, it's just going to be a matter of what we can design, whether we can design it into this or integrate it later. Type deal.
Right.
The ADA compliant and all that too, so if you go to putting stairs up to the ceiling, it becomes a whole different ballgame as far as designing it. But there's potential that we could make something work, put some more storage up there. Where he's got these field equipment storage room, that's basically where we store our more expensive equipment, our transits, levels, sewer camera.
keep it all locked up.
Yeah, we keep all that locked down. And then the tools and parts would be our more expensive stuff there.
Your office manager, are you going to be looking at hiring somebody?
Well, that was from the get-go when we started designing this. That was
Or is
what
that gonna be
was
your
told
office?
to them to put in there. To what?
What'd you say?
I said, when we first started designing this building, that was originally put in there by other people that was looking at the building. It was actually, office manager is probably not the right word I should use for that. It would have been a receptionist area is what that's actually. For future, if nothing else, that's what they wanted to look at.
But for now, you use the storage.
We could use it.
Yeah, it's 11 by 11, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that.
There you go.
You know, in the future, on down the road, you know, they may want to move,
Well, for expansion.
depending on what happens here, you know. You may need to roll somebody to some other area to accommodate another position or whatever you want, however you're going to set the government side of it up over here, but, you know. I mean, if we were going to do that today, it would basically be, Becky would be the one in that office or something, if that's what we was looking at, but That's basically in there for future. The thinking was it wouldn't hurt to have an extra office in the building, so kind of what that was about. So this is just a preliminary drawing, but got everything that I asked you to put in there. Other than the building off the back, he didn't put it on there. I thought he might just tell you about it, but what we want to do on the back of this is put an awning off the back with parking where we park our trucks. We'll have a delivery and interest where you can come through there also. Just some covered parking for the week. And that would free up some space we have out there and some of the other linkage for equipment and stuff we can park underneath. Which that's not a big expense to do that, but.
The whole length of the building?
No, just probably.
The shop part?
Before you get to the shop part, just 5 or 6 parking spaces in there or something. It's pretty close. Yeah.
It's longer.
Yeah. A lot longer.
Yeah, 122 feet.
Yeah. 60, I don't think 60 some odd foot, and that's open shop.
6139?
Total, yes. It's, I think the way it shakes out is about 3,500 square foot of open shop. We did have it a little bit bigger than this, but we squeezed it in a little bit. Got some unnecessary.
Sir? I'm done.
Any other questions or anything on that?
Looks good.
We'll continue to work on that.
What's the distance, Jerry, from this building to this one?
What's that?
The distance from the two
Between the
buildings?
two buildings where we're starting, about 60 feet, I believe.
How much?
60, roughly
60
60
feet.
foot and 70 foot to the fence. Probably 10 foot on the other side, maybe
Yeah,
80 foot
parking
total
lot.
in between them. So, which will still be divided, but between the two buildings, but we'll have parking in the front.
That'll work.
Continue to work on it so we can get something nailed down and start working towards something we can get a price to work with.
Yeah,
Go from there.
find some fun.
Thank you.
Move to item J, City Secretary resignation.
Mayor, I ask that this be on the agenda. Our city secretary Kara Hubbard has resigned. I think that we need to take action on her resignation. As far as, I assume, accepting it.
As far as it is.
So and she has resigned, and I do feel this is the city's loss. And time will certainly tell on that, but I do make a motion that we accept her resignation.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Jordan, seconded by Councilmember McCarthy to accept the city secretary resignation. All in favor?
Aye.
Move to item K, severance pay for city secretary.
Mayor, I ask that this be on the agenda in light and in view that she has resigned. I felt like it's something that we may want to do, should discuss, as far as providing a severance pay for her.
In our, I guess in the policy manual that we have, does it state anything about severance pay? Does anybody know? On something like this?
I think it's what is in the past, it's like vacation, sick time, unused holiday. And I know,
I mean, I wanted to look at it, but I didn't have a policy manual.
I didn't look at it. I just felt like, and we certainly may want to, but that in view of her resignation, that this was something that, whether, if it didn't address it, we may want to make an exception here where she's concerned and provide some sort of severance pay. Tricia, do you know, does it address
I don't
the
remember
policy
seeing
manual?
anything right off about severance.
I can't remember. Does not.
I don't think it's in there. I don't think it says that specific.
Yeah.
but vacation, sick,
So adding up all of the unused time and everything, add everything up and.
been done in the past. And I think on mine, the rate changed. That reflected my raise or something. I don't know if we need to look at that too here.
Well, I'm all for paying someone the time owed. So, how do we need to go about finding this?
I guess we can, Tricia, do you know, has she used, does she have personal time, vacation time left?
She has a couple of weeks.
She does, okay.
Can we go look real quick at that? So we know what we're looking at?
Yep, I have it on my desk.
While you're looking though, look at like sick time or any other time that she has.
Who's paid that Tuesdays? For you? Last one. Yeah. Weekly.
She has 80 hours of vacation time and 70.35 sick leave.
And 70,
0.35.
70 point.
45.
35.
Does our policy say that that'll be paid or what we pay?
She would get to her vacation. Absolutely. she'd get
And
it
it's
there.
sick time too?
I don't think the sick.
Sick time. So just vacation pay?
so
And holidays, yeah, and holidays.
I personally think you should pay the sick time, so they get a portion of it. That's just my opinion.
And mine was, for some reason, mine was prorated for the last year, I believe. You can go back and look at it, but for some reason it's prorated. It wasn't in my current rate. It was prorated from the raise and the year. So if that's something we need to do here, we need to look at that too, because it was done in the past. I don't think it was done before that, but it was done during my resignation.
So,
listen, she had any vacation time left?
80.
Right here,
Yeah.
the 80 hours?
So we're looking, I mean, you're looking at 150 days. Is this right? Is it both of those combined? 150.35 days.
You start paying sick time, you have to change the policy and add it in there and pay everybody.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But is it in the policy manual? That's the one thing
Matt said it wasn't. Matt, is that, Chief, is that not in there, the sick time?
No, sick time's not in there.
Does it cover what we do pay?
Can we get a, can we get a copy? We need to read this.
I think it covers vacation,
Holiday?
comp time, holidays, you have to pay holidays, I believe. Sick times up the city.
You got 80 hours vacation, 70 hours sick time.
Termination pay. Overtime card. It's not in there. That's termination.
Maybe we should address that. It doesn't say.
Okay. Go back to vacation pay and see if there's a clause in it.
Here's what you're. What is your due?
4.5.
That's sick leave. Oh, here's vacation. 55.
Back it up a moment.
Employees have any time to take sick time. Use the sick leave time.
Okay, so you might want to show it to the attorney just to make sure, but basically that says that you don't get paid for vacation, for sick leave. And then, upon termination, resigning, should be paid the accrued vacation leave up to maximum of 2 times the employee's current actual rate
Yeah. If they're
at the
family.
rate of pay the employee was receiving at the time of separation. Okay, so that's basically saying,
Wait, this is compensation. For vacation, yeah.
yes, but right here, upon termination, retirement, resignation, or death,
Employee shall be paid.
maximum of 2 times the employee's current rate. But it does say up to a maximum. So that would leave it to us whether to pay regular hours or double.
Yeah.
And show the sick leave to the attorney and make sure that's what that says on the previous page. That basically states no pay, right?
There had been a policy followed one time out here that people assigned their sick leaves to other employees, but I in the back of my mind, I'm thinking we dumped that too because it became a mess. But yeah, that says you can't get paid for it.
Okay. So we would only be working with 80 hours.
The 80 hours.
Mr. Attorney, since she resigned to move out of state where her family is and take another job, that wouldn't actually constitute severance pay, would it?
Well,
Maybe buying a contract out or something, or finishing the contract.
I guess it would depend on your definition of severance. What I've heard the council say is they're going to consider her vacation time, and I don't know whether you would have a choice to do that anyway. I think the Fair Labor Standards says if you're vested in your vacation, you get paid for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not trying to take away from her, I'm just saying that word severance pay.
With separation pay.
Yeah, and I understand what you're talking about, and generally that's used for people to help relocate and do other things, and that might be something you want to consider, but generally, it's, you look at it and say, okay, this person has done this, and now they're going this place, and we'd like to help them get set up somewhere else.
So a severance pay on top of whatever vacation is due. Is that what we're talking about?
I think that's what the mayor's question was, yeah. Can you do it, should you do it,
Yeah.
can you do it?
And we can?
You can, I mean, it could be like a bonus for 12 or 13 or 14 years of service around here. If you wanted to call it that, you could say, hey, we thank you for your service, here's a check. You can do it like that.
In addition to the 80 hours.
Yeah, sure.
Now, how would we determine if we wanted to do that, though? How would we determine a figure?
That's why y'all get paid the big money.
I mean,
Make that choice.
So what we do now, here we're going to do it, I mean, I'll be able to do it. Well, I mean, if you put a 10-year, and she's what, 10 years, 10, 11?
12.
12 years.
If you want to say, yeah, I mean, over 10, yeah.
Unless you're the lawyer, then you just
So what did Lord say over 10?
wait that
Exception.
the lawyer exception rule.
Well, and the question is, do we want to do, so
Yeah,
many
that's-
hours or just $1? Or would you do hours or $1?
You guys get to figure it out.
So,
You know,
in addition to the 80.
all you gotta do is say, hey, you know, we're spending taxpayer money here, so let's be nice about that, and then, but this person worked here 12 years too. So, there you go. That's what you have to balance, and I can't tell you how to do that. That's way above my pay grade.
You know, one thing Kara did too, is she started out as utility specialist. She's had
did.
every position in office.
Yeah.
It's true.
And thought about it.
Well, my thinking was, the hours that she's got here, and we're looking at the 80 hours vacation. And if we did, say, 2 weeks, then that would basically, as far as a severance pay or separation pay, or let's call it a bonus for 12 years of faithful service, then that would basically
So
be another 80 hours.
that
If
times
you're
2.
40 hours a week, you're looking at it that way.
That times 2.
160 hours.
Well, I say go, the manual,
Say you go up 2 times.
right, the manual says that we can go up to 2 times. I say we go ahead and let's get that out of the way and get rid of our vacation and double it.
That'd be a month's
2 times.
Right, and we can go ahead and put that down, that's that'd be 160 hours, and then
2 weeks. That's accrued.
whatever y'all want to do for the pay, the severance. Which 2 weeks would be fine, I mean, I guess.
That much accrued.
I've never done anything like this, so I don't know what the norm is. I don't,
Well, I don't know that the city's had any other employees that's been here 12 years. So that it might not be unique to you. Jerry may be unique to everybody. Jerry don't count.
Jerry's raising an arm, but he's not leaving yet, I don't think.
Probably you have to start saving vacation time.
He's paying close attention.
Lance is back there jockeying for a
Can
rate
you leave the
hike.
room?
Yeah.
After 8 years.
You forget about those big bucks you make, Lance. All these years, yeah. Yeah.
So,
You are vested.
We're gonna get the golden shovel when he leaves.
And a plaque on the wall. Oh, your new building.
So you guys.
They make a motion to do that, so don't know.
well, I think the 2 weeks would be acceptable. You know, for total altogether, after it's all added up, it would be a total of 6 weeks pay.
I think someone in transition, moving.
6 weeks from.
Yeah, you would get the 80 hours vacation time double. That's 1 month, basically 4 weeks. And then if you did a 2 weeks pay, so
Bonus or severance or whatever.
yeah, however, we need to word it.
So, we're not looking at just taking as the book say, taking the 80 hours, which she has,
Right.
and doubling that and come up to 160.
Right.
That's all we're doing.
No, and then we talked
You
about,
can double it.
yeah, I don't know, that's what we did, but then we talked about the severance pay of
2 weeks.
of 2 weeks pay.
At 40 hours a week.
I mean, you basically got one of them's due.
It's 240 hours total.
That we're owed to her, and then this one would be more or less for severance of 12 years of service. So,
Maybe you can pay up to a maximum of 2 times. You don't have to pay,
right.
you don't have to pay anything over the crew.
No, we
But
don't.
you can up to 2 times. So I think since we don't have to, and we are doubling it, I think that double is a fair,
Without a severance.
beyond. We don't have severance pay.
I know it.
I think that doubling her 80 is a bonus, because we don't have to do it, but since we can do it up to 2 times. And everybody's in agreement that we'll have a problem with that, but then you're adding more to that. I think, the doubling, which I don't think it's ever been done, is a good idea for years of service.
I think the reason why that is on there as being doubled would be also in lieu of any kind of other comp time or sick leave.
Comp time's covered.
I know, or like sick leave that you would still have occurred, but you cannot draw on it. So I think that's kind of what it's for. Instead of in there saying, whatever time that you have, you can take every bit of it. And we'll pay
So
you
here's
for
a
every
reward
bit of it.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
And so that's why I think that was originally put in there to double. I mean, why else would you say you can double it? So,
And that's what we're doing.
right. And so I
And
think
plus 2 more weeks?
doubling it would be that, and then the 2 weeks for her service.
What's the difference monetarily?
2 weeks. It'd be $2,270.62. If I added that right.
Total.
50 cents a piece. That big a deal.
Right, so you're $2,200 for 12 years. And then the 80 hours vacation time doubled is kind of a wrap of all of her vacation, sick leave, everything all together.
Can't do 6.
I know, I know, but that's why I'd say that's why it doubles to kind of cover all that. That's my view or my interpretation of this language, kind of why it would be in there. But I know it's just for vacation time. But
Are we willing to do this for everybody?
yeah, I think maybe we need to change, the policy, man. I think this would be fair for anyone who's been here over 10 years.
I agree.
I mean, if you've been here for, if you've given 10 years of service somewhere, sure. I mean,
And there's no issues as far as, we haven't asked for resignation. There's no
right,
issues there.
right. There's no termination or anything like that. So,
She's leaving.
on her own cognizance.
That's right, and with a good record with the city as far as an employment history. And, issues, there's no issues there.
And so I just say, if you've been with the city that long, or any place, you deserve something. The gold watch or something. So.
Well, it's only 50 cents a person in the city. I mean, that's not
Right.
gonna break anybody.
And then if you figure that up over 12 years of paying on it, so.
So we're talking 160 hours of vacation, we're doubling the vacation, and 80 hours of severance, or separation,
240 hours.
240 hours.
So basically 6 weeks of pay. So it would be $68.11, $86.
Gross.
Gross.
That's it. Study.
I would be comfortable with that.
I agree. I would.
I don't think that we're asking too much, or I don't believe that we're overstepping bounds and paying too much. So, no, I think it's reasonable.
I do as well, so.
So we're gonna need a.
Go
ahead. Okay, Mr. Mayor, I move that we pay a severance pay for the city secretary for her 80 hours of vacation time doubled, and a 2-week, severance pay, giving a total of 6 weeks' pay in the amount of $6,811.86 gross.
A second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Thomas to approve the severance pay for the city secretary in the amount of $6,811.86. Seconded by Councilmember Willows. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We'll move on to item L. Contact Linda Shelton or company she is or was with concerning interim staffing.
Mayor, I asked that this be on the agenda, and Linda Shelton, and I cannot remember the company she worked for. She may not even work for them anymore. This is Texas First Group.
I was going to say First Texas, but yeah.
First Texas, okay. She, in the summer of 2008, she came and helped with the, in the interim, when we had some staff shortage. So I put her name on here. I don't know if she's still available, but the company she worked with, Texas First Group, we should contact them, and they are former city employees, former city secretaries, former city clerks, and municipal issues and work they're experts in, that we should contact them for staffing during this interim. That was the point of this being on the agenda.
Now, this would be for temporary?
Temporary. Temporary, maybe. I think back in the summer of '08, she was here probably about 90 days, something like that. But it's up to us as far as the term, the length.
Back in '08, I mean, when all this dying stuff, I mean, totally almost crippled the city. We didn't have Tricia. Now we have Tricia. And a lot of them thanks to Kara for cross-training and Linda for recommending and getting it done and Kara seeing it through. But now we have Tricia.
It's true. We do. They have plenty to do that they do, she and Becky, on a daily basis. And I'm just concerned that if we add these added responsibilities to her and to Becky, that it may is something that may not be good for them or the city as far as the added work.
When Kara would take sick time or vacation, what did we do? Do we hire Linda Shelton?
No. But Kara was always a phone call away if we needed her for anything.
And it was week at a time. Of course, you know that.
Was she gone for a period of sick time? Was she not gone for a period of time for sick time?
She was for a little while. But at the same time, she was calling us and checking on us and seeing if we needed anything too.
Well, whether Trish wants the job or not, I believe that we're still going to have to put this out as advertising that we're hiring for a city secretary. I mean, it's the equal opportunity, all of that. So we're still going to have to advertise for a city secretary and go through the hiring process. And I think what Councilman Jordan's saying is we're going to need someone temporary in between that time to fill the spot. Because we don't know how long this is going to take. If she was comfortable doing it, all right, but I mean, we'd have to ask.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think if we were to ask her to do these duties, we'd have to, compensate her.
Well,
Certainly.
no.
Until we can get.
Well, you really
somebody
can't.
else.
You really can't do that. Yeah, I mean, we can't compensate her, can we? I mean, for.
If you make her interims,
Can you for? Okay.
if you make her the interims, and she says, I'll do it, you can.
Right. Okay.
Not to put you on the spot.
Deal moment.
No pressure.
I mean, my opinion, because I'm not down there every day, I'm not down there hardly any, but to see how it runs in Kara's absence, I think you do a fine job.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Seriously, I don't mind stepping up and doing it. There's gonna be a process, you're gonna have to post it, hire somebody for that position. I'm here. If I need help, I'll call you guys. But at the same time, we would still need to have someone else as extra help in here.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because
Like from the staffing agency here? Yeah, like 10. Okay, and that's what we did last time. Because it was, well, when Becky was coming, I mean, there was a team.
Yeah. She's not available anymore.
You're not, oh, okay.
She's a good one.
All right,
I
so,
really appreciate you, wanting to step up, and I believe you can do it. I mean, I've seen you do it.
Thank you.
so if we do make you intern, what are we looking at pay? 'Cause we'd have to figure that, right? I mean, we're going to have to figure that like tonight, because tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday is when you would actually start.
Yeah.
Now, Tricia, you willing to be interim city secretary?
That does mean it's not going to be permanent, right?
Yeah.
It's not permanent.
Yeah, you don't have to accept the position. We'd like you to, but you don't have to.
My point in putting this with Texas First Group was someone there that, not necessarily interim city secretary, but that someone that could be of assistance and had the knowledge that would be beneficial to Tricia and the city.
Then we use
in the
TML
interim.
for that? I mean, to interrupt you, but then we use TML for a lot of questions that we have?
We use them for some things.
But as far as a staff, of course, you've got to, if you get from workforce here locally, you got to get someone that can do clerical and,
So,
yeah, so.
so would we still be looking at someone, trying to contact someone from this place?
Well, that's
I
From-
don't think so.
the direction that
It'd either
might we get.
be getting someone that knows what's going on, or hiring an intern. I mean, hiring someone from the workforce that
I would like you.
You're going to have to stand
on
over.
that.
In my opinion, Trish will be the Linda Shelton that we would see, because she knows the job, she's been doing it, she's great.
I appreciate all this faith you have in me.
you also got to think now, but until we hire a city secretary, she's now doing two jobs.
That's why I'm saying,
Competition.
nobody knows how
Well,
much
even
they do as much as you do. I would like to know what you would like to see happen.
Seriously, there is a lot of work to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So regardless which way we go, we're going to need somebody, because we're going through this huge project with the meter change out. We've got Jerry's building going on. We just inherited a cemetery. We have 2 new committees we're going to have to have meetings for. There's a lot. I mean, and that goes on top of a day-to-day basis.
And I think the
Yeah.
policy book gives you the authority to hire clerical help or temporary help. Temporary help, I believe.
Whatever's best for you.
Yeah. Well, if it's temporary, until you guys find somebody to move forward and to go along with, we can get somebody in here, whichever, I don't know much about the Texas First Group or how that whole process went. But if you guys wanted to get someone in here that knows it from there, I mean, they're pretty much going to be going over city secretary stuff. If we go through hiring partners, we're going to get somebody in here that's going to be able to do the utility billing and do the
The stuff you need them to do.
So,
other jobs.
all right, we'll look to you for guidance on this. Would you rather have a temporary come help, or someone that would be knowledgeable from like this place?
Both?
So,
Oh, man.
It's what's best for you, because you're going to have a lot on your shoulders.
I mean, and we don't know how long, we're going to go without a city secretary, so
What is involved in a person like this? Do they have per diem pay? I mean, they
yeah,
move
they're
into
going to
town
be
and-
very expensive.
I think Tricia's already accepted, said she can do this. And
With help.
the
We're
book-
talking about her
yeah.
help now, though.
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
have
now
to
we're
work for us
getting someone to do like hers.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
She's told you she can hire somebody here to do the things she need done. And the book or the policy gives her the right to hire temporary help.
So what do you think, city attorney? I mean, as far, either way, as far as bringing new help in, were you familiar with the process of going through them, or what do you?
I was around when all that happened, yes.
Give me some
The only
advice.
person older than me is Jerry. Joey's over there. I'm talking about
I was here too then. I
And
remember.
here's the deal. Only you know what you're gonna be doing. And even if it's temporary, what you're gonna need to plug somebody in to help you. And you need to be comfortable with that while this process plays itself out. So, you know, this is part of the wonderful part about being the manager as opposed to the employee. It's decision-making time, and I think the council is looking to you to say, here's what I'd like to try, here's what I want to do. And it really, there's not a right or wrong answer, there's just an answer.
Well, okay, if you're looking at it that way, considering what time of the year it is right now, I think anyone from hiring partners or some temp agency would be able to do it, as long as we get this ball rolling and get it going. Because if you wait until when it gets close to budget season, when you would need someone that's going to be able to do that.
That was what I was going to next, was the purpose of Texas First Group is some guidance, and knowledge and experience and background, not that you don't have it, with the budget process. Because Kara knew the budget process inside and out, front and back. That is something that is the 800-pound gorilla down the hall, around the corner, waiting.
Okay, let me ask you this. Tell me, just throwing this out there. What if we get someone from RPM Staffing, used to be hiring partners, to come in? Because in all honesty, all the job duties that I do, that Becky does, that Kara did, there could even be one or two more full-time people to carry that load. If we bring someone in to help with that, and then when it gets closer, when we need them, could we call them too?
Cross that bridge when we get to it. If we're still
Seriously,
needed.
I really would like to get someone from there to help with that.
We would,
Weeks or whatever in the budget.
we would definitely keep that door open right there. So, I mean, if you needed help, we definitely, get someone in here.
Yeah, we just want to make sure you're taken care of.
At any time, I'd like to throw this out there, at any time, if any of you are free and would like to come in and see what we do, follow us on a day-to-day basis.
That'd be good for all of us.
Come and see what happens.
That would be good for all of
We threw
us.
you in and you can do it.
No.
We did it. Hey,
But we've always got this, if you do the RPM staffing, as we get on into June.
Yes.
For late June, then it may be want to get someone here for up to a couple of weeks.
And I can go ahead and contact them to get that
That's
ball
something
rolling
we can
too.
always come back to.
Yeah.
We need to.
It might not hurt to contact them, just to ask, talk to them a little bit. But let's hope that we find a replacement before June.
Right.
Let's strive to fill the vacancies as quickly as possible.
And if there's something that, if it gets tough and you need something, please don't hesitate to tell us, because we realize this is going to be a lot on your
Sure
shoulders.
will, because Kara's got
And I
some
know
very
you-
big shoes to fill.
Well, I know you can do it, I have no doubt, but I also want you to feel like you
gotta
can
give
come
all
to
the
us if
thanks to
something
her.
comes up.
She was excellent at cross training.
Kara was good about cross-training everybody. In the event of somebody was absent, we can go.
Yeah.
And another thing I'd like to note, Judy'd be very important to help me with some of the things that they still do, so I would really appreciate her help continuing with that.
If she'll stay.
Yeah, I've already asked her.
And her answer was,
She says, as long as they'll have me.
hey, we love her.
Now, are
Yes.
we talking about
We'd love to know.
her working more hours?
No,
To help her.
because I don't think she can. with-
Continue to
with-
do what she
With what
does.
she
Oh, just
does.
keep
Yeah.
it. Okay.
It's like Donna, the auditor said.
Right.
As long as she comes in and she's reconciling everything and she's doing all the journal entries like she suggested we do, that's what Judy does. Judy and Kara did that, and that's one part that I didn't have my hand in, and I'm glad I don't. But I really want to help, get her help still.
Right.
She's a good
Thank you
asset.
for accepting
Yes.
the challenge.
No, absolutely.
We appreciate you.
Roll right along.
You got quit.
Now, we're gonna have to figure out
Hey,
We're just gonna leave this option open.
Well, yeah, that'd be great.
Tricia's gonna need to have the authority to hire some temporary.
She does already, I think.
Okay.
I mean, if she gets down here
Acting or-
to
And
end.
if we put her as intern, we have to figure out, well, all right, what pay are we
do we
going to
pay?
pay?
Can the mayor and the mayor pro temp work that out maybe
I
tomorrow
don't
with
see why
her?
not.
Or do they need, y'all need our approval, they need our approval, or whatever they decide?
If y'all want to delegate it to them, you can, and then they can decide.
Can I
But then
just
if she says no, I don't
Or
want
just
that.
throw something at them?
I mean, not a number, because you might not like my number. But
And
seriously,
then what- who
A whole lot of zeros.
we can actually do something and start the pay effective like next week.
This is
Because,
already in paper.
because this pay period is already going, and she's here throughout most of the week. And we're just still gonna be working on the water meter project. I'm not gonna be really doing her stuff.
You had something to go off of because it did the same thing with me.
Yep. When you were city secretary. Did not know that.
Those were the days.
I know who to call on.
Good, yeah. If they can find it, then that'll give y'all.
So they were, when you were promoted, when,
Maybe
what did they pay? Same thing?
it was pretty close to what. think
I don't know.
Like a step increase under, because when they gave me the full-time
They
position.
put you on up there.
To where I was.
Let me see that paper right there. That one.
Okay. We need a motion on that?
You need to make sure they need to put this in, and go ahead and do it. Yeah. No.
So how much does she make? 26.
Oh, it's not on there, is it?
Roughly.
I'd have to go look.
11:35.
Kara made 11.35 an hour?
We,
A week? It's 28
Oh,
something.
11:30.
she's not hourly.
That's 28 something an hour.
Salary.
28.30.
Salary.
We
28.
could figure her, how much she made, and how many years, and how many years she's been here, prorate the difference. That'd be
What was it, 11:30?
Can we skip item
Between
M?
28:30.
Can we do item N before we do M?
Yeah, you need, there's not gonna be any action on this L, because y'all gonna leave that open, but you need to find out if she's gonna do this job before we start figuring out what her salary's gonna be. Somebody, you need to call that in as an agenda item.
Okay.
As far as appointment of interim city secretary.
Yeah, because we've been talking about it here for a while, and then this, but now we're getting kind of serious about money, and if you're gonna do it, how long it's gonna
So we have no action on item L?
be. Right, yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, we're gonna move down to item N, process to post, replace city secretary position interim.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
We've already had some discussion on that, I think the minutes are reflected. There was some discussion, the reason it wasn't cut off is because it's an item already. So that discussion needs to just be, we've already done it, we've done some of it. So whatever you need to do now, ask the question, then come up with the salary, or make the nomination, or whatever.
well, this is like a
Because there's two things actually on that agenda item. One's
posting the job
Yeah,
and
one's
naming it in
do
them.
the interim, and the other one is how you're gonna actually hire the city secretary. So there's two things there.
Personally, I think we should have been working on this the day after we received her email. Because now we've lost almost 2 weeks, for the process to hire someone. And in my view, this is just a position that you don't want to leave open for very long.
Well, to start the ball tonight, I'd make a motion that we nominate or appoint Tricia Smith as interim city secretary for the city of Reno.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember McCarthy, seconded by Councilmember Thomas, to appoint Tricia Smith as interim city secretary. All in favor? Done. I'm gonna move back to item M.
Or finish the
You need to
end.
finish the other thing, Mr. Mayor. The
Oh, okay.
first part of that is how are you going to replace
Okay.
the city secretary permanently?
I guess, go out for, just put an ad,
Advertise.
write an ad, you write a, what do you call it, an ad or job description? or
Publish
post
it.
And post it, where we're gonna post it?
Press news. To the
Oh,
website.
email, online.
On our website.
Is this a motion?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Was that a motion?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, I know what, on TML's website, they have a, like a classified for jobs, especially people like that.
And we want to post it there as well.
Who does?
TML.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to make a motion, we post the city secretary position on whatever avenues,
Job description.
yeah, with the job descriptions,
At least TML, Paris News, and our website, and whatever.
avenues we see fit.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember McCarthy and seconded by Councilmember Jordan to post a position for replacement of the city secretary on certain avenues of the media. All in favor?
Aye.
And we'll move back up to item M, process to hire city administrator.
Mr. Mayor, I had that placed on the agenda. I've been wanting to go to a city administrator form of government for a while, but a little hurting anybody's feelings or getting everybody in uproar, it just never came up. But I think now is the time that we should explore hiring a city administrator position as, and we're gonna have to get a city secretary. But I think now's the time, we need somebody, in my opinion, that has knowledge of city government and every department in it, and also be a everyday promoter of the city. I know there's some duties, a lot of the duties of city secretary that requires them to be here. Because of the stuff that goes on, all the paperwork, the agendas, everything the city secretary has to do. It doesn't take them too much away from the office, but a city administrator, I believe, would be a great promoter and an overseer of our local city government. And we've had that form of government here, or form of government before, and it was replaced with a city secretary. But in my opinion, that just, it took our promoter out of the city and placed him inside. But I think a city administrator could promote our city in a positive direction that we all want to go in.
I agree, we do need, I think ideally, what we need is city manager. That's has to occur
calling it that because we can't have one, so.
because it has to be by vote.
Exactly.
So,
Well,
and that's
technically,
something,
I don't think it has to be by vote. It does, the citizens can petition a vote of 20, of
yeah. But
Somebody's still gonna have to vote.
if it's
Yeah,
gonna be
but-
by vote of the people,
that's if there's a petition for it.
Yeah. and that-
Hang on, I'll tell you.
I think that's, would be the ideal. We, apart from that, we do need a city administrator going forward. The growth of this city, the size of the city, this is, and that certainly, I think, in time to come, should change into a city manager situation.
I believe that our city's grown enough that it needs it. But the only two things that give me pause of it is, one, before we do, we're gonna have to restructure the way everything's set up. Who answers to who, department heads, everything. We need to change I guess, our ordinance on how all of this is structured. And then the next thing is how would we fund a job of that? So we would have to figure out, would this be something we'd look at this year or something that we need to budget in for next year? If it is for this year, then we're going to have to figure out how to pay for however long it is until the end of the year.
Well, I think if we, we're looking at a budget process starting in 6 weeks to 2 months anyway. So that's something we certainly, if we're going this route, this direction, we've got to do during that process. And it may be that we want to do this position start at the fiscal year.
Yeah, I mean, we're still we're 6 months away still from next year. So if we did bring in someone, we're going to have to pay them 4 or 5 months. And we still have, I mean, that's still a large amount of money that we would have to find.
That's right.
I mean,
That's not budgeted for. I mean, we have no budget for
we
it.
talked about earlier, putting stuff off. Opportunities to do it is now, but we're making excuses why we can't.
The money is
either we're going to do
is the
it,
big
we start
excuse.
exploring and doing it. It is. So we just got through looking at a building.
That's right. But that's the thing, we looked
Are we
at.
putting the cart before the horse on the building? Here this is, but we don't have the money. But
Well, the building has to
everything
be
we
a
want to
bond.
do, we've gotten it done. We've found it. And
just freed
really,
up
a city
$50,000.
administrator would, be the one to find this money for us. But I'm just saying, I think if we're going to make a move, we need to make a move now.
Just freed up $50,000 on the city secretary. That's already in the budget.
Yes, but by the time we give her a raise for it and then hire temporary work and pay her severance, that is all but gone.
No. That's a lot of money.
Well, hiring temporary work is going to be a lot.
I think the time
If you hire
is
city-
now. We're
city-
not going to hurt anybody's feelings. We're not going to have to demote anybody or anything. If so, I mean, our current assistant city secretary could may get a raise to become a city secretary out of this. I mean, so nobody has to go backwards. I don't want to take the city backwards. I want everybody to move forward. And I think this is our opportunity to move people forward. I mean, that's been here a while. It's, tenured. We just got through compensating one that's been here 12 years. That's not black and white, but everything in the past, up until tonight, has to be black and white. But we're going forward. So I'm done making excuses why we can't do something. Here's a time we can do that when people will get promotions out of it, and I think the time's now we'll do it. And I think the time's now, not October, not January. The time's now for us to start moving forward.
Well, it very well may be, when we get around to advertising for a city administrator, that in the process of advertising for a city secretary as well, this is something that's probably not going to happen overnight.
It's not.
And it very well may be 2, 3, 4 months into it down the road and so we're already in the budget process for fiscal 2017 by that time. So it may be that if the right person comes forward, it might be we may have to find the money for a couple of months before we get to the fiscal year 2017 during this budget year. But certainly during the budget process, this is what we ought to be considering and looking at, I think.
And I think we ought to start looking now. Can we start taking applications for it? We have to hire somebody in 2 weeks to fill it, but at least we'll have a lot of time to look at all the applications that we'll get. Instead of waiting 3 months, then start looking, take another 3 months. Next thing you know, we're in January, and, Tricia's still overloaded with all this stuff that she's taking on now, that she's agreed, volunteered to take on. So,
Well, if we look at it like this, well, basically after we pay her severance and everything, we'll have roughly 18.5 left that we have budgeted for her salary. Now, we're going to take out of that to pay for her. Now, I don't know how much that's going to be for the next however long. So out of that is what we'll be looking at, that would be available to hire someone.
it doesn't cost anything to take applications.
No, hey, I'm all for getting
And
applications.
then we may have to go, we may get a golden egg, out of it, and we may have to jump on it. Just like the generators were bought.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
Okay,
I
go
usually
ahead.
just sit here quiet. I just have one question. Will you guys need to change the job descriptions before you? Okay.
Sure will.
Change them back and
Yeah, change them back.
We can change
I
it.
just gotta
Go
think
back,
about
yeah,
it.
exactly. But I think it's like we've said here, it's a no-brainer.
Well-
But I think we can take,
We can take applications, but we're going to have to also decide what the duties are and what would we be willing to pay.
I'm free next Monday.
So that would be the first step that we're going to have to figure out. Exact duties,
Have to restructure.
the structure of the government, amount we can pay, and then we can set it out. But
And we're
and
not
we
gonna
can
get there until we sit down.
we can look down. But the thing, we're going to have to find it out of this right here, how we're going to pay for someone. Because we just can't hire someone without them being on this list.
Right.
That's,
It's
that's why we
already on the
have.
list.
That's right, so we can't hire them.
It's already on the list.
But it won't be enough left, not unless you want to hire someone and say, hey, we're going to pay you $3.35 an hour. So that's all we got left.
There's $18,000 left.
Well, by the time, roughly 18.5, somewhere in the 18,000,
But
let's say.
You added interim?
the deal wouldn't start till the interim was completed. That's 6 weeks away. So then you that puts you in
Now,
June the 1st.
but you'd also be talking about paying her for that long, however much.
That's only
But
6
it would come
months.
out.
The rest of the year, 18,000 for 6 months. That's 36,000 a year. That's a pretty good salary.
Yeah,
But we're
that's-
starting out.
Probably
Next year
have-
they'd make 50. Yeah.
Have an extra staff person during this interim too as well.
And
Yeah.
see,
And we still have
You don't have to come up with much money as you think you do.
oh, I know, but
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we go ahead also and start the process to seek applications for a city administrator. And we can also, I don't know, can we do this, plan future meetings to go over all this other stuff?
We could just have this to be a recurring agenda item.
But, all the stuff that they want to start looking at, job descriptions and pays, can we call another meeting after we get through this motion? Set a meeting date.
Good. It's to have a specific date to review that and get it done. Yes.
Well, my motion was go ahead and start the process to start seeking applications for city administrator. Doesn't cost anything like that. And then that way we can start filtering through what we got and we can have meetings to figure out, find the money and the funding
that's the thing.
sources to what we're going to do.
What would you put in the ad? We're looking for someone, but we can't tell you how much we're going to pay or what it all entails.
Is our city secretary going to have a pay scale in there, or is it going to be
But we're not
depending
hiring
on
for-
qualification?
But we're not
City
hiring-
secretary? Yes, we
Yeah,
are.
I know, but we're not hiring a city secretary. We're talking about a city manager or a city administrator.
Was there a pay scale in your ad?
This is a brand new job. There's no pay scale.
Okay, so how are you going to put one in there?
We can't put an ad in the paper. We can't ask for someone for a job if we can't tell them how much we're going to pay them or what duties are required of them.
We're taking applications, we're not interviewing.
Well, they're gonna ask.
Yeah, during the interview process, they will.
If you're, the requirements though,
Negotiable based on experience.
It's true.
we've got to, when we advertise for this,
Well, that would definitely be a definite.
we have to have down what the requirements are, the minimum that we're looking for. So those are things I think we need to talk about before we go out for advertising, as far as what is required, the experience and that sort of thing. So I'm all for it, but I think there's some things we need to do to get ready to do it. So, and like
We need to-
Brendan said too.
I think we need to know that first, and then
The structure.
let's send out for applications.
You can make a motion for an immediate meeting
Right, and then we can figure
next
out
week.
Like
we-
Monday? I'm free Monday. I don't even know if I'm free, but I just did.
tomorrow. Tomorrow be fine.
We're gonna meet tomorrow.
I can't tomorrow.
We post it.
Or yeah, I know. Well,
Yeah, I can't Wednesday.
what
I'm out of
Wednesday
town.
or Thursday, but at the first available time. But to line all of this out,
We need
you know,
to-
step 1, 2, 3, 4, and you get all of those done.
So we can do that at our next meeting. I agree. I don't have a motion to make, except for, let's have a meeting.
Well, I think we need to do it before.
We're gonna have
So did
to-
you rescind your
I mean,
motion?
let's,
Are you rescinding your motion?
yes, I am.
Okay.
Have a call meeting or whatever we call it.
Right.
Workshop,
Workshop.
whatever.
You better hold your fingers.
She can contact me when everybody can be available.
Right.
What date we doing this on?
Okay, we got about 20 seconds left on this deal.
Next Monday?
I'm good.
You good?
No, but we're not on the record yet. We had to pause
Mayor
this
asked
to
me to
get our
pause.
stuff together.
Oh, hell.
Mayor asked me to pause.
Paul?
Will you pause that, please?
Oh, I did. Did you ask me to? City Attorney?
Hello? I'm still here.
Wait, go ahead.
Okay.
We'll move to item O. City Attorney attending Prosecutors Conference June 6th and 7th.
Can we call it, well, can we schedule a meeting to go over M first?
Yes.
Okay, time out.
Well, stop. We can back up and then we can schedule anything.
Time out. Gotta change CD. DVDs.
Get rid of this,
Yeah, how about you can put that in your budget.
In your budget.
You better start on it now, too. Not trying to scare you, though.
Only going to be timely.
Yeah, exactly.
Timely.
Doesn't have too much fun. Very close to the fun committee.
Yeah.
You don't go to school, go to school. You got to take a school budget.
I do not have a budget.
Okay, ready.
okay, we're gonna go back to item N. And Mr. Councilmember McCarthy has a motion.
But do I make a motion to call the meeting?
You made your motion,
Yeah, I
but you
think we said we
rescinded.
need to have a meeting.
You made your-
Workshop.
Make a motion to rescind my motion.
No?
And something about getting
Gotta
together.
rescind it.
Make a motion to have a workshop.
Yes.
I'll make a motion, we have a workshop next Monday at 5:00 p.m. with a limit of 1 hour
No.
on it. Hour and a half?
If I made a motion, I would probably say as long as it took, you know,
We
me.
can stay in a meeting. I don't really like time limit meetings, I do too.
3 hours.
Well, I'd like to have one meeting on it and get it done instead of saying, all right, well, let's meet again next week.
Be here at 4:30?
Well, we can get it all done in one day.
4:30 would be pushing it for me, 5 would be best.
No,
But y'all
I'll be
can
there
meet.
at 5.
Right.
I don't have to be here. I'll be out of town.
You'll be out of town next
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday,
Mayor said he
Wednesday.
won't be available either.
next Monday?
There ain't no way I can be here at 5.
What time, 6?
After dark.
It's just now getting there, dark. No.
So do you rescind this motion too?
Or
I
we
stand
can
by
have-
my statement.
What's the earliest we can have a meeting this week?
Oh. Yeah.
Thursday?
Oh,
What?
well, we have court that day, but we could possibly.
Maybe over, yeah.
Or y'all could do it Tuesday, if y'all need to do it Tuesday.
Can't do it tomorrow.
Have to post it.
What about Thursday?
Thursday week,
Thursday.
This week.
Yeah, this week.
this week. I thought you had in court.
What we do,
Maybe
that's gonna
I'll-
end around 5.
That's not a big deal.
Yeah, we can just switch it out real quick. Court may end just a little bit before 5.
Thursday.
You can do 5.
For how long?
Better bring supper. I know, right?
Okay, yeah, Thursday. I mean, we,
Thursday?
at 5 o'clock?
Yeah, Yeah, I
5
think-
o'clock Thursday?
I don't think I have anything to, oh, yeah, okay.
You might be able to make it in your hour time frame if you guys come prepared with all your homework.
Exactly.
We've got information from the former administration we had when it was set up,
That's correct.
Yeah, we met
with
on
the
the
city administrator.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, we may be able to get this done.
You getting Domino's?
Let me see that.
You getting Domino's, Carl?
assuming,
I thought you were gonna get Domino's.
You made that motion, right?
I did make that motion. Thursday, 5 PM. Is it a call meeting? Would it be a call meeting?
Maybe a special.
Special meeting.
and did you say an hour? Did I hear that?
We'll push for
We
an
have a
hour.
second.
We want city attorney.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember McCarthy to have a special meeting called on Thursday at 5 o'clock for a duration of 1 hour. Seconded by Councilmember Amanda Willows. All in favor? We'll move down to item O. City Attorney attending Prosecutors Conference June 6th and 7th.
It's in Corpus Christi, it's part of my continuing legal education. These are the people I've worked for through the years, so the registration fees paid for. They may even pay for my room, so if I spend and meals, so it may just be transportation and maybe that's it, I don't know.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the city attorney going to the prosecutors conference in, where at? Corpus Christi, June 6th and 7th.
I'll say,
We have a motion by Councilmember Jordan to approve the city attorney going to Prosecutors Conference June 6th and 7th, seconded by Councilmember McCarthy. All in favor?
I'm not gonna change payroll to on Monday. They never did say, I just had a quick question. Did you guys need to go back to L when you guys were talking about what to change my pay to on Monday?
I thought we delegated that to the mayor and
Oh,
Mayor
they're
Pro
gonna
Tem.
get it. Sorry. Got it.
yeah, you'll, hey,
Meeting's adjourned.
stick in there, that's what I'm talking
8:50.
about. Don't be shy.